Well, thank you, Fred. I appreciate it.
Okay, it's a tough time for you. It really is. Bill Russell. I say that name, first thing that pops into your mind is what?
A champion in all fields, to be honest with you, Fred. I think so many people will remember for his incredible winning as a basketball player, 11 world championships. But to me, it's far from who he really was, and maybe his other contributions, I think, that will live forever in terms of his advocacy for, for people, minority people. Was an ongoing, I think, chore of his in some respects. But more importantly, it wasn't a chore. He truly believed in what he was trying to accomplish in the terms of our world, the rights and dignity for minority people, and particularly for the black race at that point in time. But he's someone that I admired greatly as a basketball player, but more importantly, as a friend, and the legacy he will have left on this world is enormous. And when people look back on it, they'll look back on it. What a great winner he was on the court, but more importantly, what an incredible leader he was off the court in trying to gain equality for people who needed it and still need it today.
You know, Jerry, I'm wondering, as someone who knew him and who played against him, and I was just an observer, a fan watching back in the day, was he a guy that when he was playing was misunderstood?
Well, something, I'm not sure if he was misunderstood, but I think there's when you look at people that are really committed regarding their craft and how serious he was more than just someone who was a winner. The way he composed himself on the basketball court, there was never any laughing going on. He was very, very serious-minded, and winning was, of course, what he was associated with. Where when he went to the Celtics, they were just a very average team in terms of fun to watch, but not perennial champions as he made them. But he also had such an impact on the court. He made defense important, and he changed the look of this game from being an offensive game and a game that people played all different styles. The way he approached the defensive end of it, Fred, it changed the way people looked at this game. It made it more fun, more points scored. He was just a person way before his time, and little did people know that he was like a precursor of what we have seen today in the league.
Yeah, he did make defense. He put it on the map. And I thought, as someone watching, he was very intimidating defensively. When you were playing against him, did you get that same feeling?
Well, Fred, when I first started out, because, as I say, I was sort of an athlete before my time. I could run and jump and go to the basket and not be bothered by tall people. But with him, he was a different kind of defender. He would be all over the place, and his anticipation, his ability to go from one side of the lane to the other side of the lane was amazing. And early in my career, my probably first 2 or 3 years, I used to get embarrassed sometimes that he could block my shot when I was driving to the basket or be around the basket when others couldn't. And it made the way I played the game changed me a lot. It made me much more aware when I was driving to the basket. It made me much more aware of looking for other people when he would come to block shots or defend the basket. And he made all players change, and particularly people who had the ability to do that. He helped make me a better basketball player, there's no question at all. But I guess the thing that never changed for him was his ability as a player to make his teams win. And he was there every night through thick or thin, and he played the same way every night. He was just an incredible competitor. That never changed during his whole career. And he was just a magnificent player. But, Fred, he was just as magnificent off the court. The shadow that he cast as a player on the court, second to none. And then, more importantly, his endeavors off the court. He and Jim Brown lived together for a long time. And obviously their concern in making this world an equal place for everyone, and particularly the black race. He was just an amazing man and someone who I valued. And we were more than just opponents. We became friends. And to listen to some of his tales, and he was like a king holding court if you're around him. And he was mesmerizing in that sense. He was very smart. And when it was not in vogue, he went out of his way to put himself at risk by being very vocal about what he believed in and the lack of dignity that the black race lacked of opportunities. All of those came forefront with him and Jim Brown, and they were great friends. And I'm sure Jim today is a sad guy because he not only lost someone who had a common belief, but more importantly, a great friend.
You know, you talk about his work off the court, his relationship with Jim Brown, everything he did. And I'm wondering if there was some sort of message or plan at a much higher level, because he played in Boston. And Boston is, if not one of the most difficult places for a black athlete to play. And that's where he was. Do you think that made it more difficult for him?
Well, you would think with someone who had the storied effect on a franchise like he did in Boston, that would have been easier. But no, it was not. Some of the disgraceful things that happened to him and his family when he was in Boston, it's just beyond belief that he had to endure that. But he endured it in a different way. It made him more defiant to try to set things right. It made him more defiant, I think, as a classy man, to go out of his way to point out these things which should not be part of anyone's life, period. People should be held accountable. And he tried to do that in his own way. And at risk of his career, this was not in vogue then, Fred. It was not.
Yeah.
And thank God that he and Jim Brown were alive. Thank God they were aligned in terms of trying to make a difference. Bill would tell me about his trips that he and Jim used to make cross-country. Every year they drove across the country and stopped in different places. And can you imagine these two incredibly gifted black athletes winding up in some little town somewhere in America, spending the night there? Some of the stories he told were fascinating, and I think later in my life we got to be wherever there was an event, if we had to be there, we would always seek each other out, and it wasn't about basketball. It was about life in general. How are things going? I hope you're making progress with everything that you're trying to do. And for the NBA, he was a flag carrier for them. For years, he was at every event that was important to the NBA. And thank gosh for David Stern, his leadership, and also Adam Silver, that he was there for so long promoting this game and being around the people who idolized him the most, the players. As I say, he had a reverence about him that was incredible. And this morning, I have no idea why, but I got a message from a friend of mine about him. He had spoken, they had a night for me here in Los Angeles. And in my bathroom today, I still have this quote up here, and my friend remembered it from years ago. He was talking about one of the most important things that any man can have is the respect of his peers. And he said in his note to me that you have more than any man I've ever met in my life. And he said, the only thing I would like for you to remember is, I just want you to be happy. And obviously he was aware that I had a lot of dark moments in my life, and for him to even recognize that night was very significant for me.
Yep, I would say so. But that shows the kind of person he was. I guess, Jerry, listening to you tell these stories and reflecting as you have been, if you're a fan, if you're just a fan, and you support and you root for the teams, and you know what that's like, you played for the Lakers, you ran the Lakers, it's one thing. But there's so much more to everyone, Jerry, that competes than just what they do on the field or on the court. And I think at a time like this where we've lost someone who made the impact and had the impact he did, I think that's important to remember. Everyone is a human being and not just a machine that competes.
Well, everyone's a human being, of course, Fred, but some people conduct themselves and rise above the occasion more than others. Today we live in a different kind of world where, social media is such a part of it. I think fans, in many respects, get the wrong ideas about people and particularly about athletes. There's a lot of great athletes out there who are better human beings. They do more than just perform in the basketball court. But I think sometimes people look at the enormity of the amount of money they make. They forget some of the enormous contributions they've made to society through their giving, and more important, their caring. And I think it's a shame that we focus so much on, the GOAT this and who's the best here and who's the best there. I think sometimes people need to understand that athletes are human, and they do care a lot. And they care more about other people because they've lived a long life. They've lived a life filled with adulation if they're any good. And sometimes along the way, people need to understand what's beneath that, the exterior of them and what's in their soul. And a lot of people have incredible souls. Some don't have incredible souls, but there's some that are unique and stand out from others. And he was one of those people.
Jerry, as always, appreciate the time. I know it's a difficult time for you. Thanks for coming on and sharing today.
Well, thank you very much. We lost a great man, and hopefully someone will come along that has a prominence in a field that is respected by others and make the impact that he made. He will be missed. He will be missed. He will be missed. He will be missed.